Curriculum. So today is the first day we want to kind of talk about our curriculum and its purpose. What are we doing? How are we trying to build and develop players? How are we imparting in them our four core values of always try your best, love for life and sport, do what's right, and we over me. But then also, what are we teaching them? The nuts and bolts of what we're teaching them. Okay, so um, the purpose of today is to be able to, for everybody to be able to recognize the traits and expectations of a Vail player. From our 4v4 teams all the way through our oldest high school team, we are in the process of building a brand. We're in the process of helping develop players uh, along a vision and a philosophy. We're not looking to build robots, and we don't want anybody to be cookie cutter. But at the same time, we do want a good baseline of knowledge that every player has as they come through the program. What information are they getting from the youngest ages that's going to help facilitate their growth as they move through from 77 to 99 to 11v11. So we want to teach our learning goals in order that each player receives what we consider a full soccer education. Now, what I'm going to show today is not but the only things we're going to teach. There's obviously, hundreds of topics we can teach and little ways to nuance each topic over the course of the player's development through hopefully 8 to 10 years with us in the program. However, these are the key points we want to hit as a way of building expectations for coach to coach. So, if I'm inheriting a player, I'm inheriting a team from Zach, I have an idea of what I'm getting from the players that Zach's had. And so, we're building that expectation for a coach as to what they're getting from the Vail players in their care now. But then also, their next coach is prepared for what they're getting. But again, to the colleges or any next level opportunities we're referring to, again, for Chris, as he's helping players through the college recruitment process, having an idea of what our brand of player is, to be able to share that and sell that to different schools. It's going to help us cater our message to specific schools that maybe play the way that we want to, or cater to the strengths of our players in the way that they play. And it's going to help all phases of the player, their development, and their opportunities out afterwards, if we have a plan forward for them. Okay. The most important piece of this is the decision-making process. So I included this from last week's session. So, throughout the entirety of our educational pathway, we want to be teaching the education of the decision-making process. So we want to be focusing on perception, of having their head up, seeing the field, knowing what's going on, being able to identify the 4 or 5 key areas on the field themselves, their teammates, their opponents, the ball, and the space, right? And I include the goal as part of the space. It's the target space, but it's still part of the space. So there's really those 4 areas. Be able to conceive an idea, create a plan of attack, understand what their options are, where are the good numbers, where are the bad numbers, choose which skill to execute, and then use disguise to hide their intentions from the opponent, execute that skill to the best of their ability, and then evaluate that skill or assess that skill. Did it work? Did it not work? Why not? And then really what comes next? How do we get ourselves to the next option or move on to the next moment of the game? Also, to give ourselves a framework of what we're doing, we want to have a clear understanding of what our expectation of the player numbers and the positional roles are within the team. Now, we're not going to touch on all of these today, but as we go through the curriculum and we touch on the 99 next week and the 11v11 next week, there's going to be more relevance to all of the numbers. But very quickly, 1 is the goalkeeper. So if we refer to a player as their number 1, they're the goalkeeper. Okay. The 2 is the right back. The 3 is the left back. The 4 is the right-sided center back. So a good way to remember that is the even numbers stay to the right and the odd numbers stay to the left. The 5 is the left-sided center back. The 6 would be our holding midfielder, our defensive center midfielder. The 7 would be our right winger or midfielder. And again, I'm not dictating that we play in a 4-3-3 as I've got outlined here on the page, but just understanding that if you're playing in a 4-4-2 with a right winger or a right midfielder, they would be our number 7. The left midfielder would be the 11. Your box-to-box midfielder would be your 8. Your playmaking center midfielder, trequarista, if you will be your number 10. And then number 9 is more of your center forward, traditional center forward. You know, we do have some coaches who prefer to play with a little bit of a false nine with that player checking in, but otherwise they would be more of your target, more of your center forward in there. So that kind of covers the positional numbers. And then again, in here in this diagram, there are some of the movement patterns, the predominant movement patterns that you would expect from those players. Hopefully the goalkeeper isn't moving around as much as I made him look like here. But otherwise, you know, the predominant movement patterns for our players in the system and the shape that we play. So now jumping into the U8 learning goals. So this is the 4v4 age groups. This is really everything underneath. You know, this is kind of sprout seedlings and then everything up into and including the 2000, what would be 13s now, I guess. And there are really 6 keys of learning at this age group, as far as, you know, we had discussed. Number 1 is body control and physical literacy. So the single most important thing that the kids need to learn at this age is the physical literacy. Is how does this body of mine work? How does it move? How can I run and jump and fall and roll and, you know, do so without it hurting, and understanding how to, you know, get comfortable pushing themselves, get comfortable challenging their coordination, testing their balance, bumping into each other, falling down, and having a ton of fun in the process. For me, that's like the single number one, because the benefits to not just their athletic performance, but actually to a good life going forward, actually indicate that greater physical literacy that's developed in a youth, in their infancy, in their young years, their formative years, leads to better health and better fitness as they get older. It actually leads to better cognitive abilities in terms of problem solving, in terms of dealing with some other things. There's a lot of research out there that indicates that. And so we want to really give them a good base for the rest of their life, but specifically for us in soccer. Ball mastery, foot skills and coordination with the ball, joy with the ball at their feet, right? Enjoy having the ball at their feet, want the ball at their feet. A lot of the training is going to be one ball per player, so that everybody can have a ball. Sharing isn't really a great trait at this young age, so having a ball for everyone is a great idea. And getting them comfortable with the ball at their feet, wanting to dribble, wanting to use their skills, wanting to try new things, build competence to gain confidence, right? Helping them to be a little bit more comfortable with the ball, and then they'll feel better about it, and it'll start to self-perpetuate. Also running with the ball. So love the 1v1s, love running at players, love teaching the ability to take space and learn how to penetrate on the dribble. We want players who are confident and brave, which means they have to be willing to have the ball at their feet in tight spaces and in tough situations. So, you know, we want them to learn and build and grow the ability to both solve pressure individually and then want to attack space as an individual with the ball at their feet. Next, jumping forward, we have ball striking. So again, the ability to shoot, to score goals. It's the most fun part of the game, right? And so, you know, we want the kids to be able to experience that a lot. Again, it's another piece that's going to help. We build their ball striking at a young age, and we start building the strength and the coordination to do so. It also is going to help benefit their long passing ability as they get older. It's going to help build the ability to be able to strike the ball over a greater distance. So if they move into a position that isn't one that's going to be shooting all the time, it might aid in their crossing. It might aid in their ability to clear the ball if they become a defender, or punt the ball if they become a goalkeeper. But at the same time, it's going to have a benefit to them no matter where they are in the game. So it's something we should really definitely touch on to focus on over the course of their time with us during the 4v4 age range. Then we start getting into towards the end of a 4v4 year, we start getting into some of the things that are a little bit more mature, managing space. So, you know, can players identify where the most space is, where the least space is? How do I find ways to become the most wide open player? How do I become a player who creates an option for a teammate? And then can the players start to create the basic space, the basic shapes? You know, again, playing on diagonals from each other, creating triangles with each other. Diamonds in the group of 4 are all very powerful shapes to be learning and working off of. So how do we find those through the management of space? And there's a lot of games that we can use to teach and develop and build those skills. And then finally, passing and receiving. So, you know, I was always taught to reverse engineer this when I was just coming into coaching, you know, teach receiving and then teach passing, and kind of share that, you know, passing is really receiving in reverse. So as the ball comes in, we cushion the ball, we get our toe up, our heel down, and we receive the ball on the inside of our foot, and so on. And then when we want to pass the ball, we do the same thing, but instead of catching the ball and softening the touch, we're actually punching the ball through the middle of the ball with our foot and able to pass it through to where we want it to go. And then learning through play. So how are we creating an environment where the kids can learn through play? Not so much in terms of rote passing exercises or anything like that, but just they'll get the skills they need to learn how to pass and receive, especially with a few different techniques inside the foot, outside the foot, and so on, through the course of small-sided games, whether it's 2v2, 3v3, or 4v4. Okay.